don't know, like having a very uncertain future, you know. I've been watching all movies all year. I need to like take a break and I don't know,
reset.
But yeah, so like now I felt like very back to normal and kind of in June on an upswing in like not just movies but like life. So but movies have like gone, they've gone with the tide.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah,
Wow.
so I've definitely had the bug back, and yeah, I've watched a broad number of movies.
I'm excited to hear about them. How many do you have to share today?
To present
to
today?
the class.
I don't really know exactly.
I was hoping you had like a definitive answer because I didn't know where I was gonna go.
I thought that it meant you had a definitive number ready. I was like, no. I'm definitely not gonna talk about every movie I watch, but
Boo. Try harder.
Right. But I'm going to talk about a lot.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about a lot. And I'm going to be going this is going to last longer than we probably think.
It always does.
Because I'm going to probably start at May 30th. So I've got like a month.
Wow, that's almost a month.
A month's worth of movies to talk about.
This guy is crazy.
Yeah.
Can he do it? Oh.
He's out of control.
All right. Yeah. I mean,
right.
I've got some that I definitely haven't talked about on the podcast yet, so I'll try to match whatever you're throwing out there.
Just to warn you.
Oh no.
To prevent surprises, I have subcategories.
Oh my god.
Of my movies, so I can put like some of them together.
Okay.
In a, not like I'm making up how I'm putting them together. They actually are like very related. So
that makes sense. Cool. Well, you start us off.
Okay. So going back to May 30th.
Wow. What a time that was. Yeah. So much different than it is right now. Life was so innocent.
Everything's the same. Yeah, it was.
Literally the same.
Yeah. In all seriousness, it really was. It really was way more innocent. Yeah, I just got what you meant. So on May 30th, I watched The Shallows with Blake Lively. And,
okay.
Yeah, and this was a movie that I hadn't seen, but like I just wanted to see because it just was a mainstream shark movie with Blake Lively, and I really didn't know much more about it than that. And it's been out for a while now, too, but it took me this long. And it's done by I'm not gonna say this guy's name.
He doesn't deserve it.
I'm not. He definitely does, but I'm gonna butcher it. So it's like respect in that sense.
Yeah. Don't want to.
But he's a very big. Don't want to. don't want to do anything there.
Don't want people knocking on your door. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's also, other than The Shallows, he's directed Orphan, The Commuter, Nonstop, Unknown, and Run All Night. So he's done like the he's done a great horror movie, if I may say so, and a bunch of like Liam Neeson like B-movie action thriller types.
Hell
which
yeah.
are the ones I've seen are actually all like fairly like solid.
I enjoy Nonstop and Unknown.
Yeah,
those are the two I've seen of his.
They're like movies I when I was a kid that were like not a kid, like high school.
Yeah.
Like I think I watched Unknown and Nonstop in high school, and they were like the craziest thing.
Yeah. I remember my sister and I watched Unknown, and we bought it like Black Friday as soon as we could.
Yeah. And I like miss the ignorance of just like looking at Liam Neeson with like complete seriousness, you know, like that I used to have like when I first saw Taken, where I'm just like, this guy is the fucking man.
Badass.
This guy is incredible.
He's not Qui-Gon anymore. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Qui-Gon. And I still haven't seen The Commuter, but supposedly The Commuter is very good.
Yeah, I haven't either, but I've heard good things
from what I've heard. But anyways, back to The Shallows. So right off the bat, I would say that this is a good summer movie. And also a ridiculous movie because it's just like it's about like a chick from America who's just surfing on her own in Mexico, and there's all these Mexican people around her, and she's like totally on this like soul searching white girl surfing trip alone, and going to the place where this is where mom went, but other than that, I thought that this is one of the best ways I've ever seen the ocean filmed.
Dang.
In a movie. Like, I thought the ocean looked incredible, almost too good in a way. Like, it almost felt at times like I was watching Planet Earth starring Blake Lively on a surfboard in the ocean. Like, the ocean
10
just
out of
looks
10. Wow.
The ocean just looks legit like it's being filmed like by nature documentary people who just know how to capture how slowly and crisp the waves fold up, and it's just it was just really bizarre to see in a movie, like really cool, but I just was like, this is crazy how good this looks with Blake Lively on her surfboard. So as the movie went on, I just overall really liked it. I continued to think it was pretty ridiculous a lot of the times, and kind of a little stupid, but I thought it was just like a pretty well made movie, pretty entertaining, and I thought that in the end it all came together for me. So overall, I would recommend The Shallows.
Nice.
There were a lot of moments where I was just like, oh my God, like, because that's crazy. The shark bit her hand there. So, just like out of nowhere stuff. Surprises.
Wow. So yeah, I'm looking at Letterboxd now, and I have this watched and rated, The Shallows. I honestly have zero recollection of ever watching this movie. But really? I must have, yeah. Because I rated it.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't say it's forgettable. So that's yeah.
I definitely when you said The Shallows, I knew exactly what movie you were talking about.
Yeah.
I feel like this may be one that I watched like with a group, and I just wasn't all in watching the movie and don't remember it that much. But
okay, yeah. So
nice.
I thought you watched it. I thought you watched it. That's why I gave like details.
I must have
maybe pretty loosely because I thought you'd seen it. Oh yeah, maybe you did and just dozed.
Yeah, I must have done that. I think if I watched it, it would probably be one of those that I remember right away.
Yeah, like it's definitely one where I'm like, all right, I don't really want to watch The Shallows again, but I remember like all the details. Like it definitely sticks in my head. It's a memorable movie.
Well, this is a mystery I'm gonna solve, and I'm gonna watch.
So yeah, get it
clips of this on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, have a watch, John. It's really interesting.
Cool. Sometimes I try to stay away from shark movies just because I do enjoy the ocean and enjoy swimming in the ocean, and I know it's just gonna give me added anxiety about that. But yeah, it's also so tempting.
It's fucked me up too.
Yeah.
Nice. Do I choose shark movies or swimming in the ocean?
Yeah.
I choose shark movies.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you got to pick one. But nice, The Shallows. Okay.
Yeah, that's my long take on The Shallows. I say long because I have a lot more to do. Okay.
All right.
I think it's worth bringing up that I rewatched Stranger Than Paradise because you watched Stranger Than Paradise. So we'll talk about Stranger Than Paradise later.
All right, yeah, let's table that one.
Yeah. All right, so you're gonna have to help me out with my naming my my category of the next movies here, John, because it's they all come from that HBO Max anime section.
Oh yeah.
What is that called?
Studio
Ghibli.
Ghibli, yeah.
Yes.
Ghibli or Ghibli, I don't know which one
right.
it is, but
okay, because once HBO Max came out, you're making my mouth water.
Oh yeah, I'm drooling right now.
I watched a bunch of Studio Ghiblis when it came out. Because I'm very. It's almost embarrassing. I just haven't watched a lot of anime. Like I've watched like Spirited Away. I've watched like Akira. I've watched Paprika. Other than that,
yeah.
I'm pretty anime ignorant.
I never got into anime until this past year, because my brother-in-law and my boss actually were both like really into it, and for some reason, growing up and like in college, I always had this different depiction of anime, of what anime is, and then like once I started to get more into it, then I realized anime is like freaking cool, like pretty awesome.
Yeah,
and really creative and unique.
Right.
So yeah, I also watched a Studio Ghibli film on HBO Max too. But
I watched.
What did you watch?
I watched, I think, 4.
4? Oh my god.
4 Studio Ghiblis. Yeah.
Are they all Miyazaki movies, or are they?
I'm not sure.
He's the only director from that studio that I know. So I
watched My Neighbor Totoro, which is Miyazaki.
Yes.
Because that's one. My Neighbor Totoro is one that like I've known about since I was like 5, and I would always be a kid and I'd be like, I'm not gonna watch My Neighbor Totoro.
That's for kids. Yeah.
And I'm like 10.
Yeah.
But it was a great introduction to all these, because My Neighbor Totoro is very just like just the vibe and the innocence to all of them, and the like beautiful side to like youth and imagination that all these films have. Like My Neighbor Totoro has that like as much as any of them, so I think it was just like a really great introduction.
I believe that was also my first Miyazaki movie.
Yeah,
that I saw too.
So that's the first one. The next one I watched was Kiki's Delivery Service, which is also I'm looking is Miyazaki, and Kiki's Delivery Service was just as good to me.
Sweet. That's also on my list. I haven't gotten to that one yet.
Yeah, I just thought it would, like My Neighbor Totoro. I thought it was very very perfect. Just as good for me.
Yeah. Totoro is definitely one of those like recognizable characters, though. Like, even if people haven't seen the movie, I think they would still recognize Totoro from something. They would have seen him somewhere. Yeah.
Totally.
I also think for anyone who hasn't got into these movies yet, that is a good starting point for sure.
I also want to, before I move on, I want to name the voices of Kiki's Delivery Service, because they're like a couple other of these movies. They're actually like big names.
Kirsten Dunst. She one of them?
Yeah. See here, you name it. Because on Letterboxd, they're not showing the big names that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
They're all
on Letterboxd. It's all the Japanese voice actors. Okay, let's see. IMDb has them. Pamela Adlin, who she voices a ton of she does a ton of voiceover work.
Yeah, and Kirsten Dunst is Kiki.
Kirsten Dunst. Let's see here. Phil Hartman, he's in it. Matthew Lawrence. June Angela, Louis Arquette, Jeff Bennett.
Yeah.
Janine Garofalo. Yeah, man, a ton. These are in such a weird order. It's hard to. Debbie Reynolds, yeah. So that's a big cast.
If you're one of those cast chaser people who only likes to watch things with people they know in them, which is most people, then Kiki's Delivery Service has that.
There you go. Yeah.
So the next one I watched is The Secret World of Arrietty.
I do not know this one.
So this one has Amy Poehler in it.
Wow.
Amy Poehler and...
Now that's a big name.
Yes. Thank you. God. It's Amy Poehler, Bridget Mendler, Saoirse Ronan, Tom Holland.
Oh, this must be a recent one then.
Will Arnett, Carol Burnett. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's a huge cast.
And Will Arnett, as we've seen from BoJack Horseman, is just like great voice actor. Like, and he's just as good in this. Like, he plays Arrietty's I believe dad. Arrietty's played by Saoirse Ronan, and there's like a scene at the beginning where the whole thing is that they are small people living in like a miniature house and like regular sized people's houses, regular sized person's house, and Will Arnett is kind of like showing her around, take her on an adventure around the house, showing her the rules of the house and how everything works. And I'm like, her dad's voice is like so badass. I know who that guy is totally. And then I realized, I'm like, that's Will Arnett.
Yeah. What a voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, overall, The Secret World of Arrietty was really solid too, and
nice.
I think the one thing I would say is I just wish it was maybe a little longer, because it feels like it almost ends abruptly. Because a lot of these, like, this is only an hour and 34 minutes, and yeah, I feel like it gets you immersed into this world, and I've just felt like it ended abruptly for me. But it's not. Mm-hmm. It's that's just like a personal thing.
Yeah, you wanted more. Can't have too much of a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the last one I watched was Castle in the Sky, which is one I've also known about since I was a kid. There was one movie I owned when I was a kid where I watched it over and over again, and there was always a preview for Castle in the Sky.
That's such a funny memory.
Right.
Yeah,
and
I definitely have those
like,
too. Yeah.
It was like a really epic like trailer, like, now you can fully enjoy the special edition or the remastered version of Castle in the Sky and enjoy it the way it was meant to be enjoyed. And then like there's just these like images of the castle in the sky just like looking as majestic as anything, and I'm like, wow. And so I finally watched it like probably 20 fucking years later,
decades later.
Yeah, and to see what it's about. And I will say this, there is a castle in the sky somewhere there in the clouds,
and it looks better than ever on HBO Max.
Right. Yeah. HD. And yeah, I'd say this is my least favorite out of all the four I watched. I don't have a particular reason. It was.
Just the feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's another one on my list. That's what I think is great about HBO Max, is that it has movies like this where I don't remember seeing these streaming anywhere else before HBO Max.
Yeah.
And
I think just the fact that it has its own separate section on the site, like along with like TCM, is more motivating too. Just
Definitely.
That they're all together.
Yeah. So I guess to add to that, I watched Princess Mononoke.
Might as well do it now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw that one. Yeah, I should watch that one next.
Yeah, so this is my third one. I feel like I watched like the three biggest Miyazaki Ghibli movies first. I watched Totoro, Spirited Away, and Mononoke, which those were the only ones that I think I had heard of before I really dove in to his work. And Princess Mononoke is It's clearly like made by the same guy, but
Mm-hmm.
it's completely different from like Totoro and Spirited Away. It's much more adult. Like because right from the get go, it's very dark, and it's this fantasy world that it's clearly it's not just some little kid fantasy world where there's just like a bad guy trying to take over the land. Like it's like a real world where shit happens, people die, and you got to deal with it. And I thought Princess Mononoke was really great. And I think if I watched it as a kid, that there would be some definitely like scary moments in it, because it does get dark at times, and it has a lot of themes with just humans and nature, and just that dynamic in general. And I think it's just a really great sort of fantasy adventure movie, and I really loved it. I would watch it again easily, and
I've noticed that this brand of anime is like different from a lot of like mainstream anime in a way how it's more like for children but can be like watched as an adult and related to probably even in a richer sense, because when I see people watching anime, a lot of the times it's like really like trippy fight scenes and stuff like that, and it's like guys like like on acid, just like anime, that type of shit. So that's like, I don't know, that's usually what I expect from when I'm turning on an anime thing, but these are just not like that.
Yeah, definitely. I think they're one of a kind, and I think they're just they're different than anything you can expect. I almost went in initially, first time seeing My Neighbor Totoro, thinking it would be like Pixar in a way, and there are definitely relatable elements, but I think it's still like its complete own its own beast, and
totally
really unique. And I've even I don't know if I'm sure you've probably seen YouTube videos too, but I watch like KEXP videos on YouTube. They're like, it's this radio station in Seattle that they have live performances of a lot of like more indie bands. And then there was this girl who I wish I could remember her name. I think she's like a big name. I don't listen to her regularly though, but she was talking about how her main inspiration in her music is Miyazaki movies. And I thought that was interesting, that it's like, I think the movies are just so like creative, and
I think like
spark
anime is
a little bit
very
more
interrelated with music.
Yeah, and the scores in all of these movies are really, really great too.
Really good. Yeah. The one like the score in Castle in the Sky was probably my favorite thing about it.
Nice,
for sure.
Yeah, so, I'm definitely going to be watching more of these.
Yeah, I'm going to watch more of them, too. There's plenty more of them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Especially since you just mentioned the one you watched.
Nice.
All right, moving on. I'm going to briefly touch on my millionth time watching The Lord of the Rings.
Yes. All right.
Yes. Yeah, because I had to... Beginning of June was definitely still and it still is. I mean, it still is quarantine time, and beginning of June was definitely quarantine time, and so me and my brother finally broke and just binged The Lord of the Rings. We usually, we used to do it in like a day, but we decided to space it out actually this time and just do it in 3 days. So watch one a day. And I think it was better in a way because it wasn't as exhausting.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan, because I think I would definitely after one. I've never done all 3 in 1 day's.
It's exhausting,
viewing, but I don't think I could do it. Yeah.
I mean, I'll say this: it's easier than you think. It's like it's not really actually hard, but like it's by the end of the day, like you kind of just wake up, you watch, and then you go to bed.
That's
but
your day.
I think what made this time different, like doing it, spacing it out for me, was that when I watched The Return of the King, I wasn't like just tired after watching 6 hours of like this exhausting adventure already, so that I was able to actually experience the Return of the King with a fresh mind. And in the past, I've like not rated the Return of the King as high as the other two, and I think it's because I'm just tired, and that the elongated ending in the Return of the King that everyone knows about just like really drags at that point for me, you know?
Yeah, it does.
But when I watched it with a fresh mind, I was like watching the Return of the King, and I'm like getting ready. I'm like, you know, this one is kind of flawed. It's like paced poorly or something, like, you know. I'm like, oh, well, I'll sit through the one that's paced poorly, I guess. You know, it doesn't end it as well. But then I watched, I'm like, this is a perfect fucking movie. It's like just as good as the other ones.
I definitely I know what you're saying about the ending from rewatching that a bunch of times. Because
everyone complains about the fucking ending, and it's like it's fine.
Yeah, I remember when I first saw The Return of the King, and I think I needed that ending.
Yeah,
because I was
exactly.
like, oh my god,
it's so fulfilling, and
yeah,
how else are you gonna end it? Like I tried to think about it. I was like, how you can't cut there. You can't stop it here. You gotta stop it somewhere, and I think it stops right where it should, and it closes the loose ends, just the right way.
Yeah, because it's only 3 movies, and they came out didn't they come out back to back years too? Yeah. But it felt like 10 years. It felt like a decade's worth of
for sure
movies that you just took in.
For sure.
So yeah, it's gonna need a big ending, but yeah, it definitely drags, but yeah, I eat it up.
I do too. It's such the thing about these movies is like I've been watching them since I was a kid, and there are a few things that like are just as good as when I was a kid, you know, where they don't lose any of their steam, and Lord of the Rings is one of them, where I'm just like I'm always amazed every single time. I'm always just as into it. And I know, and I'm just like, I love them so much. Like Star Wars for sure has lost a lot of steam, and I was into that as a kid, just as much as I was Lord of the Rings, but I'm not as into Star Wars as an adult at all. So yeah, I just have a very strong attachment to these movies, and I still like can't wait to watch them again. Like, probably a year from now, I probably will.
Yeah, they're so great at I don't know, still feeling fresh after all these years.
There's
too.
something
I don't know what it is.
They're so timeless, and just the story is so timeless, and the fact that however the film looks, there's no flaws in the look of anything.
Yeah.
Like, and oh my god, like we did, I think, best scores and soundtracks maybe like the week before I watched these. If it was the week after these movies, it would for sure be on that episode, because the score is unbelievable. Like, and I've seen them enough now to where I know like what like theme each part of the score is, and so like I'm like when I was watching Fellowship of the Ring, like the Sauron theme like hits way faster than you remember, because like Sauron, like Gandalf comes in, talks to Frodo, he's like, Sauron has betrayed us, this is the One Ring, and tells him all the stuff, and then you cut back to Sauron's lair, and he's just manufacturing everything all of a sudden. He has this whole army base all of a sudden, and then the theme starts, and you're just like, oh my god.
Yeah. It's so good. Yeah, I love
incredible.
I love in Fellowship too, and they're like, I just thought of this because I saw some meme with this today, but when they're going up the mountain, and and Saruman goes, "So you have chosen death," or something
Oh,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
And I always think back to that too. Yeah, it's just so I just you get captured into this whole world with
Yeah.
the music and
Yeah.
all these. Yeah, I don't know.
The
It's
first
so
one
good.
just gets you into that world like so easily, like, and it just is the perfect entry into it, and it's such an adventure, and yeah, and I could go on and on about the music. Like I also love this. Like there's a scene where Gollum's like, the Black Gate of Mordor, and then you hear that na 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 na. It's just so good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think they hit every note for me. The Two Towers is just has the best battle scene in cinema. Even even after everything Game of Thrones did, and like the length they went to do all their battle scenes, I'm still with this
Helm's
Battle
Deep
of
all the
Helm's
way.
Deep. Yeah, it's just it's always so great and epic.
Yeah.
And then like the Return of the King, I'm watching like all these like inspirational speeches like over and over again, and like I'm watching like the King Theoden like speech, before like the As the Sun Rises speech, and I just literally during that whole scene had just a giant smile on my face. I just like I wasn't even like gonna pretend or hold back like how in love I was with that whole scene. It's just like is so perfect.
Yeah, it's so uplifting, that
it's
movie.
Such a moment. He's like, as the sun rises, and then just shows the massive army.
Yeah.
And he goes like, ah.
Yeah, that is hands down way better than the Braveheart speech.
Oh, for sure.
Which
gets a lot of love.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what always gives me chills too is when Aragorn goes, "My friends, you bow to no one."
Yeah,
and then I just said it and I'm getting chills right now. Yeah, and then everyone takes a knee to the hobbits. It's like, oh, yeah. I teared up as like a 10-year-old kid in the movie theater at that time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly the last watch convinced me that I really should just read these books too, because what a fucking story, man. I still can't get over it.
Yeah. I tried to read them when I was younger and I just could not get myself to do it.
Yeah.
But I have wondered what like the differences between the books and the movies, because I have zero idea.
I mean, the way I see it is I'm like, if this is like what came from that, I have to see that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I could definitely talk about Lord of the Rings for 10 hours.
Yeah. All right. One last thing I'll say is that the Rohan theme is amazing.
Riders of Rohan.
No. It plays a ton.
Yeah, that's so epic. Yep. Yeah, and then of course the theme for Hobbits, or whatever, the Shire theme.
Yeah,
is so nice and Celtic, and
I noticed a comparison today because I'm currently living in Glen Ellen, Illinois, and when I saw the introduction to the Shire, and just like what the Shire means in like the grand scheme of the Lord of the Rings, what I like kind of realized is Glen Ellen is very much like the Shire in a lot of ways.
Wow, I've never thought of that.
Yeah,
before.
If you look at it from a certain, I'm not going to go into it, but if you look at it from a certain angle, it is.
Wow, I could see it. Next time I'm home, I'm gonna take that in.
You're gonna be like, this is the fucking Shire.
Yeah. Where's Gandalf at? Where's Gandalf?
Yeah. What an idiot.
Well, nice. Awesome.
So yeah, that's the Lord of the Rings.
During quarantine, I also watched The Two Towers. So.
Oh, I did see that.
Right.
Yeah. That's sometimes I think that's my favorite one.
Yeah, I can never decide. Yeah, it's usually whichever one I watched
but
more recently.
I think the Two Towers has the best third act, probably. But yeah, I can't. After watching the last time, I still don't think I can choose. If I had to, it'd be the Fellowship, but I can't choose. I consider them all one in a way.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, nice. Good pick.
Yes. All right. Transition time.
Remix.
This is quite a transition because we are moving from those to the weird movie section of my watches.
Oh yeah.
I always have some weird.
Let's get weird.
I always have some weird movies that I watch. Okay, I think I have I'm trying
Let's
to just
weird it up.
think of how many I actually have. I have one, two. All right, I have a good amount. And one's a rewatch. All right, we'll just get into it. So, the first one is a movie that I'll be surprised. I'll be surprised if you've heard of this movie.
I've probably seen it.
Yeah. Heard of every movie. So
every movie under the sun. Name it. I know it.
Fuck you.
Nice try.
This for curveball. So this movie is called literally Right Before Aaron.
Right before
literally
what?
Is in the title. It's called literally Right Before Aaron.
I know that one. Yeah.
It's a 2017 movie with Justin Long and Kobe Smulders.
Wow, this sounds like a rom-com to me.
Yes, it is. I found this movie on Hulu, and it was just like, oh, this movie looks really weird. I'm gonna check it out. I don't need to read the plots enough. It's basically Justin Long gets invited to his ex-girlfriend's wedding, who is played by Kobe Smulders, and her new husband is this really buff guy who's just good at everything and a total bro, and the movie's just about how Justin Long has to go to this wedding and watch his girlfriend marry him, and he's just kind of he ends up wanting her back and going why didn't we do this, and all this stuff, and it's just very odd. There's a lot of weird tone shifts in this movie. I really can't definitively say. It's hard to definitively describe it because there are so many different things that this movie's trying to do. There's really goofy stupid comedy scenes that you would see in any that you'd see in anything modern comedy wise, and then there's very sophisticated trying to be smart rom-com dialogue, and then there's a scene where Justin Long and Kobe Smulders are walking around like it's a Woody Allen movie, and it's just. And then at the wedding, Justin Long is just getting shit-faced, and there's this party montage, and he ends up smoking pot outside with Luis Guzman because he's one of the kitchen workers at the wedding, and it's just it's completely odd, always, and a lot of this movie just kind of gave me a headache when it was trying to be funny. And a lot of its dialogue and a lot of its attempts at anything, and overall I just really didn't enjoy it. It wasn't totally worth the weird vibes and the Louis Guzman's in this movie and just random things like that. Overall it was just as strange as it's you get what you get for watching it.
Wow. Yeah, I've literally never heard of this before.
I've literally never heard of literally Right Before Aaron.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I feel like it's funny you said that about Luis Guzman, because I feel like he's been
he shows
like,
up.
yeah, he's been good in things, and then I also feel like there's some comedies that they just use him because they know that he'll
Yeah,
get
like
an easy laugh out of
in ways he's
some
like
average
a
person.
legendary actor. He's
yeah,
like
definitely.
he's in like Boogie Nights and Punch Drunk Love, and he's in these Steven Soderbergh movies. He's worked with Tony Scott. He's amazing. And then he like shows up in Yes Man, like to kill himself, trying to kill himself.
Yes,
and
yeah,
get talked
yeah.
off the ledge, and you're just like, what the fuck?
Like, why? Yeah, why is he here? Yeah, he has like a 2-minute scene there. Yeah,
Yeah, which is the same here. He's just there and out while Justin Long's getting shit faced. He's like, "Is that your wife?" He's like, "You were about to marry her," and like, there's so much humor at the expense of Justin Long in this movie that is so generic and awful. Like, gave me a stomach ache.
wow.
So yeah, I wouldn't really recommend this movie, even if you're like, I want to see what that's about with Justin Long and Kobe Smulders, because you're that weird like me that you feel the need to watch something like that. I would say it's not worth it, even if you have that. Just that notion.
Yeah, this I see this is written and directed by Ryan Eggold, who I really don't know anything about, but. He's in some like generic hospital show.
Yeah, acting.
That as an actor, and I've just seen this ad of him on this generic hospital show so much that I just have this hatred towards him for no reason other than I've just seen him on this generic hospital show commercial.
What's weird about it too is that
it.
it's like well shot at times. It's like, like kind of how Chris Rock's Top 5 is well shot. It's not as well shot as that. That's giving it over credit. But there were times where I'm like, in the middle of this kind of shit show of a movie, I'm like, that's kind of a good looking shot. So yeah. Anyways,
wow.
That's literally right before Aaron.
Literally right before Aaron.
You have to say the title like that, like literally.
Literally, not figuratively.
Let's watch literally right before Aaron. Okay, so that's weird movie number 1.
That's an annoying title too.
It is, right? It sucks.
I already don't like it just based on the title.
Yeah, like I'm kind of like, why the fuck did I watch that?
I'm mad that you brought it up, even, Luke.
There's so much with all the Bogart movies there are in the Criterion Collection.
What a waste of time.
Why would I ever? All right, so the next movie is a movie with Reese Witherspoon, Chris Pine, and Tom Hardy.
Oh, I've seen this. I know what you're saying.
This Means War.
Yeah.
This is also on HBO Max.
They're killing it.
And I just like had to watch this because I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Powerhouse of a cast.
Like, look at this movie. Yeah, I'd say right off the bat with this movie, it's so weird to see Tom Hardy, in a movie, in like a real life like movie, like, and trying to be funny in a rom. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
After all the like epicness he's just usually surrounded by.
Yeah, he probably did Inception or something right before this.
Yeah.
Or Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah. So that took some getting used to, for sure. But eventually, I was like, I kind of thought Tom Hardy was just really good in this movie in a way. Like, not like, I wouldn't say he was like I believed his performance or anything like that. He definitely just felt like Tom Hardy to me, but I thought he was funny when he was supposed to be funny, and then when they used him for action scenes, I thought it was like pretty cool and funny at this as well.
Yeah, so unlike The Shallows, I do remember watching this one, but I don't remember much about it. But I do remember thinking it's just like, I don't know, these rom-coms are so funny that they have 2 CIA operatives in an epic battle against one another for this woman. But it's like they're in the CIA. That's like a very serious thing. But this is a rom-com.
Yeah.
and they have Tom Hardy in it. Yeah, it's bizarre.
Yeah, and Chris Pine in this movie is so douchey. I don't know if you remember that, but he is such a douchebag in this movie. He just really is. He's a total douchebag. And Reese Witherspoon has this, like, the thing about Reese Witherspoon is I just love her. I really do. But she's in so much bad shit. Like, and I wouldn't say, and I'm not saying that this is bad. That's not what that means. But I would not say that this is a respectable movie for an actress of her caliber to do. In ways, she is made for the rom-com, and it's not. And they did give her like two of like the biggest macho guys to be like, you know, that she's literally like choosing between in this movie and kind of like playing both of them, but still it's not that respectable of a role for her. Like, yeah, like I don't think Nicole Kidman or Laura Dern would be in a movie like this. So, but then again, Reese is the rom-com queen at the same time. But I don't know if you remember her friend in this movie, but she has this friend who's advising her the whole time, and she's just like, I hate her. I not only do I hate the performance, but I hate the way that this character is written. She's just like an awful mom who always talks about like fucking guys, and she's always drinking, and it's just not good.
Is that Britta? I'm going through the cast here trying to figure out who that is. Probably Chelsea Handler. I
did not know who the actress was. She felt kind of unknown to me.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I saw This Means War on a plane. It was like one of the movie. It's not one of those planes where you get to pick your movie. It's one of those planes where we're showing you this movie. Yeah, you're gonna either watch it or take a nap.
This is a plane movie.
Yeah,
you know, it might have been Chelsea Handler, but anyways, I did not like whoever's character that was. But I don't know. Overall, I thought that, like, unlike literally right before Aaron, I actually like enjoyed This Means War and kind of the ridiculousness of it, and yeah, I mean, I thought it was actually worth the watch in the end. And I just laughed a lot while watching it, and I just kind of thought it was a funny movie that exists, and yeah, I'm glad I watched it.
Yeah, I definitely don't remember hating it at all. I feel like this is one that I don't know, you could watch with like your family, or I could watch with like Carly, and they would like it enough that everyone at least has a good time watching it.
Yeah,
whether or not it's like the greatest movie.
Yeah. All right, so solid.
Nice.
All right, I have one more weird one.
All right.
And you know, of course, it is a Farrelly Brothers movie.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Green Book?
It would be. Nah, not yet. Not that. I still haven't seen that one.
Oh,
this
okay.
is. I'm not sure if you've seen this one. It is Ben Stiller's The Heartbreak Kid.
I don't think I've seen this.
The remake.
Heartbreak Kid.
It's also got Jerry Stiller in it. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Michelle Monaghan and Danny McBride.
Wow. Yeah, no, I haven't seen this. I do recognize it though. I've definitely seen a trailer for it.
All right, so this one is worth watching, but it is one of the most ridiculous films I've ever fucking seen. Because one, Ben Stiller is just so unlikable constantly. The movie kind of starts out with Ben Stiller. He's like running his business in San Francisco, and his dad's like, Jerry Stiller is constantly like, son, you have to get married. And he's like, why don't you ever get laid? And Jerry Stiller's like, I get laid all the time, you know. And that's like his shtick in the movie, like, is that he gets laid, and Jerry Stiller's like, "Come to Vegas with me, we'll bang these girls." And then later on the phone, like he's on the phone with his dad again, and Jerry's actually in the hot tub with like women in Vegas. So they really stick to that.
Wow, they go all out, yeah.
So that's probably the first scene in the movie. So the movie immediately starts a very misogynist tone, and like in Fairly Brothers fashion, it's pretty.
Them,
it's
yeah.
just it's pretty mean to the women in a lot. I wouldn't say it's like it crosses the line, but I think you could definitely read a lot of just disrespect towards the female characters in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because Ben Stiller basically, he meets his wife. He kind of like, in very typical movie fashion, he happens on her getting robbed. The guy's running away with her purse, and he tries to stop her. And then eventually he meets her. He gets her number. They get married. It's like 3 scenes.
Damsel in distress.
It's like 3 scenes, and they're married, and they're literally like. And there's kind of a funny montage where like Ben Stiller's just like every scene in the montage they're just making out and not talking at all. It's pretty funny. And then they're just on their honeymoon all of a sudden driving to Mexico, and they're in the car, and Ben Stiller realizes he's like that they don't know anything about each other at all. And that they totally it definitely is just the vibe that they rushed incredibly into this marriage, and it's like just shows her just like annoy the shit out of him, and he's just like hates her clearly. He clearly hates her. It's like clear this thing's not going to work out. So they end up at this hotel, in Mexico, and it's like very nice resorty, perfect for a comedy, very Adam Sandler, Forgetting Sarah Marshall like, and then Ben Stiller meets Michelle Monaghan, and while his wife is nursing in terrible sunburn for the whole trip, Ben Stiller goes after Michelle Monaghan and hangs out with her and her family, and basically bullshits his wife the whole time, just saying that on where he is always lying to her, just kind of is a total dick, and then he ends up I guess I won't give that's enough information to set up for the plot, and then and then conflict ensues. Hijinks ensue. And so it's just like, it's a really ridiculous situation, and I think it's worth watching, because even after just telling you all that, like, you won't be able to believe these moves that Ben Stiller's character makes, and how committed they all are to this to this situation.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous film, but I must say I laughed a lot, and maybe not for the right reasons or for the way the movie intended, but it's worth seeing, because I just can't believe it.
Wow, it sounds like a Fairly Brothers movie. So
it for sure is.
Jerry Stiller can always make me laugh too.
Yep.
No matter what. So yeah, I definitely want to check this out, and I can, based on your review and just knowing it's a Fairly Brothers movie, I think I know what I'm in for. but yeah, like, nice. It's better than
Kingpin, just for like the fact that I was like actually pretty entertained by all this, even though it's like it's just blatant stupidity on screen constantly. I was like, this is kind of hilarious, and I kind of am enjoying this. When Kingpin, I was just like, this is too dumb. There's real stupid. This doesn't feel written or anything. This is just a bunch of bullshit, Yeah. Heartbreak
Nice.
Kid.
Heartbreak Kid. Yeah, definitely feel like I saw 10,000 trailers for that in 2007.
It gets my stamp of approval with an asterisk, I guess. All right. So next, we can do one that is an overlap for us. I know we both watched this movie. It's The King of Staten Island.
The King of Staten Island, yes.
2020 movie.
Yes. So far, my favorite 2020 movie, which isn't saying too much because I haven't seen a lot.
Me too.
But, Judd Apatow, Pete Davidson movie, and a lot of people hating that. I feel like this had a lot of hype behind it, or at least I saw a lot of hype around it, but a lot of people mad that it's $20, without thinking that it's supposed to be in the theaters right now.
Right.
So that's like two movie
why
tickets,
isn't it for
really.
free on Netflix?
Yeah, why just put it on
Everything's
Netflix, man?
free on Netflix.
Yeah, just put it on Netflix.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm happy to pay for something like this.
Yeah, this was one that Carly and I were excited to rent. So we just bit the bullet and spent the $20, and I really liked it. And I've seen like the negative reviews of it, and I can understand those from, I guess, from those people's perspective. But I feel like from our perspective, it was a little more up our alley. Mm-hmm. In a way, and
why do the reviews just go after like the like man child trope?
Yeah. People said it's like self-indulgent on what Judd Apatow always does.
Yeah,
with this pathetic man child who doesn't want to grow up.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, but I felt a little more empathy towards Pete Davidson's character, and if you don't know, it's slightly based on his actual life. But I go back and forth on Pete Davidson sometimes. Sometimes I find him a little annoying, and
I watched his stand-up special, and I was just like, what the fuck is this? And then but then I'm always rooting for him, like I really always am.
Yeah, that's exactly it with me, is that I go back and forth, but at the same time, I always feel empathy towards him, and I'm kind of rooting for him, but I also he makes me cringe sometimes, and can be annoying for sure. But
he occasionally gives me a big laugh, and that's what I'm still in it for. Is like occasionally I really laugh at something he says. I'm like, I really liked that thing he said, because that's like his whole thing. He just says things out of nowhere that people wouldn't normally say. Yeah, but yeah, this I fucking really like related to like a lot of this movie, and I just I've like really have come to like just realize like how that Judd Apatow is definitely like one of my just like favorite directors, like totally. Like I never really like bring him up or in that like sense, but when it comes to like filmmakers, like I've loved like everything he's done, like pretty much, like outside This Is 40. And I like rewatched like Freaks and Geeks like a month ago, and I was like blown away. I thought it was incredible. Arguably like the best thing he's like written at least, and The King of Staten Island for me was like as good as is his best movie in a while for me.
I agree.
Definitely since like Funny People. I think it has a lot more realistic heart to it than like say something like Trainwreck. I like, maybe, I mean, who you could call me out for saying that's like a gender thing, that I relate to The King of Staten Island more than Trainwreck, but I don't know. I think that Trainwreck's a little just not as like quite as down to earth as this movie. And that's kind of why I like it a lot overall. Is it's very down to earth, and at time, and has very sad vibes throughout, but yet is also very funny and uplifting, which is kind of Judd Apatow's whole thing.
Yeah, no, definitely uplifting. Yeah, I obviously this is just one man speaking to another man, but I don't think that like gender would play a role in like the difference between this and Trainwreck, because I definitely feel like this is a much more like personal story, and there's a lot more heart to it.
Yeah,
and I think that it really benefits from it being very true to like Pete Davidson's life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think like Judd does a really good job of just like being able to like take like those real things and then like make it an appealing thing for like people to go see.
Yeah, and I also feel like it's it may be people in our age bracket would definitely like it a lot more, because Pete Davidson is one of these bigger names right now that is our age. So regardless of like his childhood trauma and everything, I think there's something relatable that everyone can around our age could mid-20s could take from it, even just a little.
Yeah. Also, he was very big on the show Girls, which I really like. He was like one of the writers.
I haven't seen Girls.
Okay. Yeah, like he you should watch Girls. He he was like, I think Lena Dunham was gonna like make the show a drama and kind of dark, and if you watch Girls you'll realize it is very dramatic and dark already. But Judd Apatow was very like big on making sure that the show was a comedy and funny, and that's also what Girls is. It's just like fucking hilarious. Like every character has like shines in its comedic moments. So that's another thing he's done.
Yeah, and I also think King of Staten Island, while it had so much heart to it and everything, it also was funny.
Yeah.
Genuinely funny. Yeah. And I mean, I got to bring up Bill Burr. I think he was great in it, and I think him and Pete Davidson had a great dynamic between him and Belle Powley too, who I didn't really know before this movie, but she was great in it too. She plays Kelsey, who's like his on again, off again.
Yeah,
sort of
Steve Buscemi
interest.
Like is awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome that Apatow got Steve Buscemi. Steve Buscemi has like the biggest scene in the movie in a way, where he's like heroes are allowed to have families. That whole scene, like that scene's really really great.
Yeah, and I remember seeing an interview with Pete Davidson where he was talking about how he met up with like a bunch of the firefighters that his dad used to be in, what do they call it? Like they were in the same ladder or whatever. I don't know if you call it or crew.
Department.
Yeah, they're in the same fire department.
They're the
But he said he got to like meet up with them, and they all were just like drinking and telling stories about his dad.
Yeah.
And they do that scene in the movie too, and it's a nice scene. Yeah. They sing One Headlight. Yeah. They just mumble their way through that classic 90s song. Yeah. The other thing I'll say about King of Staten Island is, so we when we were in Denver, we went to Comedy Works all the time, which is the comedy club there, and Pete Davidson did a big show there, which we got to go to. It was like a very random show. It was called Pete Davidson and Friends, and the set was Pete, his co-writer on this, Dave Cyrus, and
there's another guy.
Yeah, and Ricky Velez is also stars in this as one of Pete's friends. And so we saw Pete's special. It's on Netflix, and it was the same set that he did live. And we had mixed feelings about it, but I will shout out Ricky Velez, who was hilarious. I don't know if he's got anything on YouTube, or I doubt he has any special streaming, but Ricky Velez, who plays his friend Oscar in this, is a hilarious stand-up, and I thought he did a great job acting too. I don't know if he's acted at all in this, besides this, but yeah, I'll do a quick shout out to him there.
Nice. Yeah, I would have seen Pete Davidson if he was in town for sure too.
Yeah, still a fun show. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
It's King of Staten Island.
Yeah, I've got some more to do.
You've watched a lot.
And I'm skipping a lot too.
Yeah.
So now is the Scorsese documentary section of my watch list.
Ooh. All right.
I watched 2 Scorsese documentaries, and actually I watched 3. I'm just realizing. The first one is more, I'll touch on briefly because it's more normal. It's more of a traditional documentary. It's called Feel Like Going Home. It's a blues documentary. And it's cool. It's like a lot. It touches a lot on the roots of blues, and it kind of, what the best part is it goes back to Africa and traces the roots of blues back to Africa, which is like something people always talk about with like any piece of any African American music, like hip hop, jazz, and blues and all that shit. And yeah, they're like, back in Africa, they were doing it. They were banging on drums in a fire circle. And this actually like goes back, and there's like guys in Africa just like sitting under trees, like playing blues riffs and like singing the blues, and it's really cool. It's like what people always say, like as like a hypothetical question. They're like, "What do you think people were doing before for music? How is music today? How does it come from there? What do you think?" And but it's like actually like a thing. It was like actually in Africa, like people really developed a lot of music and just lived for music out there, and that was probably the most interesting thing about the documentary. Other than that, it was very typical documentary, and overall very worth watching. I mainly watched it because my dad wanted to watch it.
Nice.
All right, so the other ones though, both documentaries blew me away because I don't know, I'm not super well versed on documentaries, but when I saw these, I was like, okay, I didn't even really realize you could make a documentary like this. So the first one is Italian American. That I know you've heard of.
Yeah, I've been wanting to watch this.
Yeah, you're just basically hanging out with Scorsese's parents in their New York apartment, and they have
that sounds awesome.
And they're telling
just based on that
bunch of stories about like just their growing up, just like coming up in Little Italy, and the dynamic with people and family, and about the old country and all that stuff, and like, yeah, it just really all comes off as like a very unique perspective, and it's just very relatable for anybody, really, and like, just it really is just the fact that that they're talking so freely, they're speaking so freely, and the environment just feels so open, and you just kind of hear Marty eventually asking them questions. Like at the beginning, he's like, mom, when did you first learn to make sauce? He's like, when did I learn to make sauce? It's like, I learned to make sauce like when I was 20. Mom didn't know how to cook it. And then eventually she throughout the documentary, she is making the sauce and like showing how the sauce is made, and then they eventually like eat together, and there's like all this pasta, bread, and wine, and like sausages laid out, and Marty then keeps asking them questions. And then at the end, during the end credits, there's a big list of the ingredients of the sauce and exactly how to make the sauce.
No way.
So I decided I'm going to make it exactly from that recipe. I'm going to have to go back to the credits to write it all down. But yeah, I'm going to make the exact sauce that Scorsese's mom makes. And it is just like it's as interesting as you think it would be.
Honestly, out of everything you've mentioned that I haven't seen yet tonight, that's the one I think I'm most excited about.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so
I love the scene in Goodfellas where Martin Scorsese's mom, playing Joe Pesci's mom, showing off her painting and everything.
Yeah.
She's just so. I just imagine
he knows how to bring out her like personality for the camera very well, because she does have a very good. Yeah, she's like, she's like, this one guy, he never spoke at all.
Yeah,
she tells the joke, and De Niro laughs his ass off and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, well, one dog's looking east, one dog's looking west. So what?
So what?
So what? Yeah. Oh, it's just so, she's just so like adorable.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah. Nice. That's that's high on my list right now.
So the last Scorsese documentary I watched is it's called American Boy, a profile of Stephen Prince. Stephen Prince, John, is the gun salesman in Taxi Driver. The guy who's like, look at that fucking gun. Isn't that a beautiful gun? You know, that guy?
Yeah. I know who you're talking about.
And so other than being an actor, Stephen Prince is also very well known for like being a road manager for Neil Diamond.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he's like just an interesting guy who's lived a very crazy life. And like Italian American, this documentary is very open. It's just in some LA apartment, and it's Stephen Prince rambling on story after story after story. And it is fascinating, I must say. Just the environment that this guy creates from just talking, and how much this guy can talk and still keep it so interesting. This one really surprised me, because it was one of those I just watched like, oh, that sounds interesting, I'll check it out. But like this doc honestly like blew me away. I thought it was like fantastic, and it was like really like eye-opening, because I was like, I've never seen a documentary like this. Like, I'd say the closest thing I've seen is D.A. Pennebaker's Bob Dylan documentary, but still, like, this is just literally, you're just hanging out in the living room with Stephen Prince, and he's telling so many stories. It's really interesting.
I'm definitely into listening to people with interesting stories.
Yeah.
Just talk.
Yeah, it's a good late night watch, like right before you go to bed, and with like no lights on, and it's good for that. Nice.
Awesome. Yeah, I haven't checked these out on the Criterion Channel yet.
Okay. That's Scorsese documentaries. My God, I've... All right, John. I have...
What do you got?
I have 3 more.
All right.
But seriously though, all of this has been worth talking about. And
I'm excited about
these last 3 I'm including because they are definitely worth talking about.
I mean, there's so much that we watch besides like our regular like themed episodes that are worth talking about.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I'm skipping over right now that I could have totally talked about, but I'm just trying to do the best of the best of my watches. So, all right, I'll come out swinging. With these last 3.
Let me have it.
All right, and the best way to do that is with a James Cameron movie called
Oh yeah.
The Abyss.
Avatar. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I rewatched Avatar and it was kind of weird. So the Abyss, I had my first time watching it, and I really haven't known that much about it, and just the fact that it's directed by James Cameron, I was just like, fuck yeah, I'm watching that. Like, and in typical James Cameron fashion, it is very long. It is 139 minutes, and it is very epic, and it is more ambitious than any movies on Earth. It has Ed Harris in it, and just a lot of other people as well. It's just like a big giant cast of likable people. And it takes place 100%, almost I'd say 90% of the time is under the sea, and the rest of the time is like just kind of like an aircraft carrier that is like a battleship that's like above sea. And man, this movie's crazy to describe.
You know, James Cameron is like obsessed with
the ocean,
deep sea. Yeah,
yeah.
The ocean,
He definitely like learned his like whole thing of like people running away from water and how that's like so compelling on like, you know, in movies for people, because like in Titanic that's the thing, and in this movie they do it a ton. There's a lot of running away from water. All right, so I need some help, so I'm gonna read the plot because this movie's insane. I don't even know where to start. A civilian oil rig crew is recruited to conduct a search and rescue effort when a nuclear submarine mysteriously sinks. One diver soon finds himself on a spectacular odyssey 25,000 feet below the ocean's surface, where he confronts a mysterious force that has the power to change the world or destroy it. Okay. I don't even know if that tells you anything. All right.
Nope.
That's for the best in a way. So a lot of this movie is them stuck under the ocean trying to figure out how they're going to survive. They're so deep under the ocean. They're trying to figure out how they're going to
25,000 feet.
25,000
to be exact.
Yeah. So they're trying. There's a whole survival thing, and there's a lot of like typical Cameron. Like there's like people from the establishment there who are greedy, and then the good guys have to defeat them, that sort of thing, and expose the corruption, that sort of thing. So there's that, but then there's like the plot description says, there's a mysterious force under there that constantly
it definitely says that, yeah.
Yeah, and there is a mysterious force that always kind of comes up, and you're always kind of like, what the fuck is that? And it's kind of implying that under the ocean there is alien life. And so that it's kind of these politics constant and like I said, the running away from water, playing with a mysterious force constantly. And I mean, yeah, like this movie kind of goes to another realm. It is very insane. Like once the movie ends, you'll realize like, oh my god, this movie was off the walls, like crazy, like ambitious, and it really kind of nails it as well. So if you have 139 minutes for a James Cameron epic, which everyone does.
Everyone's got that time, yeah.
Yeah, he kind of appeals to everyone. I would say definitely check out The Abyss, because it is something.
I'm looking at it on Letterboxd now, and It has like popular lists that each movie is on, and for The Abyss, it's on a list called Anxiety-Inducing Cinema.
Ooh, all right.
So I don't know if you would agree with that, but
yeah, possibly.
Based on what you said, I could see that.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. I'll just say that.
All right, The Abyss.
Okay. My next film is also pretty nuts. It's it's Orson Welles's Chimes at Midnight.
Chimes at Midnight.
It's based off it's an adaptation of a Shakespeare play. What is it, the fat photo?
Yeah, just looking at the photo of Orson Welles, it is hilarious.
Yeah, he is huge in it. And so this movie is just, we always say, that scene, this moment in cinema is Shakespearean. Well, this is literally like Shakespeare, this movie. And Orson Welles he embodies this Shakespeare character, like, really incredibly, I would say. As John said, he's very big.
Yes,
and
looks like Santa.
Yeah, and it goes and no one else is as big as Orson Welles in this movie. So he stands out due to that, and also he's just always kind of rambling and building a consciousness in this movie, and so he really stands out, and he just really gives an epic performance, and ends up like you end up building a crazy rapport with this guy. Here, I'll read the plot. The career of Shakespeare's Sir John Falstaff as roistering companion to young Prince Hall, circa 1400 to 1413. Okay, so whatever that means.
That doesn't help me at all. Yeah.
So also this movie, as it's written by Shakespeare, a lot of the words kind of bounce off my head because they're written just like really elongated poetic sentences. So like, when I'm watching a movie, I'm not trying to usually be like, all right, what the hell does all this mean? But I think just based off of acting and just the cinematic language, you're able to follow like what is happening, the dynamic, the power play in this movie, how this world is constructed, and all that stuff. And like then there's so many monologues that you're just like, holy shit, and I can't believe, and really, like, while I don't totally get a lot of these monologues because they're worded like crazy Shakespearean,
yeah.
The monologues bring out insane performances in everyone in this cast, and so there's a lot of amazing stuff like that, and also this movie just has a very, especially with Orson Welles, a very joyful tone, and then it ends up leading to as you might have guessed, kind of a very sad ending, and it really holds a lot of weight because of that. So yeah, I'd highly recommend this movie. I think it's kind of amazing. It's actually, I think it's really amazing. And the last thing I'd say about it is that there's a battle scene in it that is really amazing. Like, I think, like, it not only because of the way it looks in black and white, but also just, I think probably the body count and the amount of people in the battle is probably, for the time, had to have been some record or something. It's pretty nuts.
Even just this image on Letterboxd, there's just a bunch of like knights in their armor standing behind Orson Welles.
Yeah.
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 I can kind of picture it.
Yeah, it's Yeah, this movie's really, really amazing. So yeah, that's Chimes at Midnight.
Nice. Never even heard of this one.
All right, one more.
One more to rule them all.
Yes, this is a Coen Brothers film from 1994. The Hudsucker Proxy.
Man, I've been wanting to watch this for years, and I just never have.
I don't know when I would have watched it if if like my brother didn't want to watch it with me, because and I'm happy I did, because I loved it. I really did. It's
nice.
Like I said with what was that one Peter Bogdanovich film? What's Up, Doc? Just like What's Up, Doc, it is very much a homage to slapstick comedy, from the 30s and 40s. And it nails it. It really nails it. And this movie is constantly funny, and it plays off as such a great like satire on corporations too. I'd say arguably like it could be the Coen's funniest movie, and I'd say almost all their movies are funny.
For sure.
And Tim Robbins is so good in this. Paul Newman is so good in this. I just had a really great time. And I think it might be one of my favorite Coen Brothers movies.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
This has been on my HBO list for so long, and I've never actually just
I think you'll really dig it. It's pretty great.
Just the top two billed cast members alone, Tim Robbins and Paul Newman.
Yeah.
That's already piques my interest. Just based on that.
It's just like it's going full on with just trying to be funny, and it nails it.
Nice. Sweet.
All right. That's it.
Well, that was that's your watch list.
That's it.
Okay. All right. Well, so I've got my list now too, and let's see. I'm gonna start with an overlap of ours. It's one now. So I'll also be honest with you, and I don't want this to have a strain on our friendship at all. But I had to pause the Criterion Channel temporarily, but part of the reason is,
how are you gonna make the sauce?
Yeah, now I'm never gonna find out Scorsese's mom's pasta sauce recipe, which I might have to buckle down and get it again just for that. But with HBO Max now, I've been so just into everything that's on there, and they have a bunch of stuff that was on my Criterion list that's on HBO Max now. So I'm trying to take a break from Criterion now to focus on whatever's on HBO Max, get my fix in there, and then start up again. But part of the reason too is that I've been wanting to get more into Jim Jarmusch movies, which I know you're a big fan of his, and there's a few of those on HBO Max. One of them, which I watched recently, is Stranger Than Paradise.
Yeah, what are the other two?
Down by Law is also on there, and I want to say Night on Earth, Mystery Train. Maybe both of those. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I started off with Stranger Than Paradise, and
it's a great one to start off with.
Really loved it.
I've seen it now like 4 or 5 times, and I saw it like 2 years ago, I think.
For the first time 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Dang, yeah, that's a lot.
So it really grew on me.
Mm-hmm. And it's nice. It's like 90 minutes. Exactly, maybe even less than 90 minutes, and it's very much a movie that doesn't have some sort of complex plot that you have to really focus on following along. It's but it's but something about these characters, is just so interesting to watch, and it's one that I could see myself rewatching, easily. Yeah.
There's a lot of like those master shots of just in the apartment, because there's only like one shot. They don't do coverage or anything. It's just like just the two shot of them on a bed or something like that they stick with for the whole time. There's something so like inviting about those shots. Like you just want to like stick in that world and you just like hang out.
It's a hangout movie. There. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
and I mean, it just has a lot to do with young people being bored and not really knowing what to do. Which is very relatable for the time in our world right now.
Yeah, I know, right? It is a perfect movie for quarantine.
Yeah.
Because you could tell they just feel so. Everybody in the movie feels so like trapped and stagnant, just in like everyday existence. And I just so relate to. I just so relate to going on weird trips to just try to get away.
Yeah.
You know, like I feel like every trip during my 20s I've taken is just a strange trip and never like totally is like what you expect, and is always like you get there and you're like, this is just like life the same as my life, just over here.
Yeah, right.
You know? And that's kind of like what happens throughout Stranger Than Paradise.
You think it's gonna be different, but and then you realize it's the same, and they're just like, oh yeah, let's go. Oh, okay, I guess we'll go to Cleveland. I guess we'll go to Florida to do this, and I also kind of related it to just growing up where we did, where we wouldn't go to the same extent that they would, but we would just like have nothing to do in the suburbs, and we're like, okay, let's just drive around and let's go to this place. Let's go to this. Nothing to do.
It really creates like a like that. It really just like shows that there's like something very fascinating and funny about boredom and all that.
Yeah. And it, I mean, basically it got me really interested in seeing more Jim Jarmusch movies. I'm excited to dive more into all this stuff on HBO Max.
Yeah, I will say this, that I've seen almost all of them, and I have gone back to a lot of them, and so I have definitively, like, I think that I will say that you just watched what I believe is the very best one.
Wow.
So in a cynical way, it is only downhill from here.
Oh.
But all of his films are really great, and he really expands a lot filmmaking wise, definitely after Stranger Than Paradise. So it's more than worth watching. I think Stranger Than Paradise is like a fucking masterpiece, and just like so awesome that I put it up there.
Nice. Yeah, no, I'm still excited to see all of them. I think if I ever get to your level of his filmography and rewatch a lot of his stuff multiple times and see everything, then
you're talking about a lot.
Then maybe my who knows what my opinion on all of them will be, but
maybe I'll also say that Stranger Than Paradise is my favorite. I mean, it's not difficult like to do, because I'll say that like a lot of his movies, especially one movie called Patterson that I really love. A lot of his films are just very like, I don't know, they're very like spiritually like rejuvenating, especially nice. Patterson. So like in a lot of ways, like they're just necessary to watch, and like they're very easy to watch. So
that one might be close by on my list.
Yeah, definitely recommend you keep watching.
Nice.
There's a lot to see. Down by Law on TCM, like you said, that Down by Law is fantastic too.
I remember you talking about that one before.
It's a really good it's a really good one to watch right after Stranger Than Paradise, because in ways they're very stylistically similar.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
sweet. All right, yeah, that's Stranger Than Paradise, and next I'll change it up. I'll also go with subcategories like you had for this one, and that's because these are two 2020 movies that came out on Netflix about the same time, I think. And I don't know if you've seen either of these, but the first one I'll talk about is The Lovebirds, which is a Michael Showalter movie with
Kumail
Nanjiani and Issa Rae.
I did not watch that,
and I don't know if you need to. Definitely like all the people involved, which is why we watched it in the first place. But it's just not really funny, and I to the point that I don't have a whole lot to say about it, because I had semi high expectations of it. I just figured at least it would be maybe not the best movie, but it's still at least good for a few laughs and a good time.
Yeah, like Stuber level.
Yeah, but it felt really just dull. It's only 86 minutes too, but it felt really dull and empty, and like Kumail and Issa Rae are in a couple, and they are just getting to a breaking point in their relationship where they just really get annoyed by every little thing that the other person does, and where it's the movie brings them back together in a way that is kind of like movie tropey. You see it a lot, like, oh yeah, they're disagreeing a lot, but then they remember why they're together in the first place. And I just the whole time, I was just thinking, like, they should not be together. Like they have a reason to not want to be with each other, so they should just not do it. And but basically, the plot, they get caught up into this murder mystery that it looks like they did it, but clearly I don't want to give too much away if someone genuinely wants to see it. But it happens right away, and right away you're like, oh, they could easily just do this and get out of this situation so easily, and then there's no point to the movie. But they don't do this one obvious thing to get out of it, and then even from then you kind of, I don't know, you get lost. Then you realize this is a movie, and these characters aren't acting as people would. But it wasn't terrible, but it's nothing to write home about, really. Yeah,
I did have an opportunity to watch this movie. It was like the day all the protests were going on in Chicago, like where they were like the really bad ones. And my family was like, we're gonna sit down and watch Lovebirds, we're running it. And I was just like, I cannot watch a movie like that right now,
like a comedy movie,
or just like or just like a obvious like bullshit movie. Like I think I like went up to my room and like stewed or something. I'd rather stew up here than watch this. So yeah, that's why I did not watch it. And then I went downstairs later, and my family was like, "Yeah, it wasn't very good." And I'm like, "All right, I'm on fire."
And if you see the trailer, even when I saw the trailer, I wasn't so sure how I'd feel about it, but. I don't know. I'd say pass. But that leads me into my next 2020 movie, which also is not a good movie, but I enjoyed slightly more. And that's The Wrong Missy, which is the Happy Madison, David Spade, Lauren Lapkus movie that went to Netflix. So it's just, exactly what this movie is going to be. You've seen this movie from Adam Sandler and his production company before. It's David Spade works for this company, and he just has a tough time with the ladies. His ex cheated on him with someone they work with, but they're going on this big work retreat to Hawaii, and David Spade ends up meeting in the airport this woman who's like amazing, and they have so much in common, and she's perfect for him. And then, but he also goes on this blind date with this other woman who has the same exact name, played by Lauren Lapkus, who she's just insane, just crazy. And he ends up texting the wrong Missy, and on the airplane, he's like, "Oh my God, I've made a huge mistake," and then chaos ensues. And it is just a really just stupid movie. But it is one that if you just really want something mindless, that you know what you're getting when you're watching it, then I would say go for it. But it is absolutely one that I also would say don't watch. If you want something that's genuinely just funny and whatever, I wouldn't say watch. But
Nick Swardson looks like the side funny guy.
He is. Yep, he's the
as usual
typical role for him.
Adam Sandler and his friends love Nick Swardson. Like they just love him. He's in they bring him on for every project, and they always it's like he's always rushing their frat, the Sandman frat, because he's always doing the dumbest. He's always the dumbest, most least respectable, almost scum of the earth guy in every movie, and he's just does whatever for the laughs. I told you about how I watched Grown Ups 2. Mm-hmm. There's a scene in Grown Ups 2 where Adam Sandler's driving the bus, and Nick Swartz is just in a blow up raft being pulled by the bus, and he's just on the street flying around. It's just that type of shit, just ridiculous, absolute ridiculousness, where I can't, it's hard to tell whether I hate it or or don't hate it or not.
When I was younger, I didn't know who he was. I knew I liked him in a couple of movies, but I feel like it's weird now because he's in his 40s, but he still plays these just frat boy characters. It's how long can you keep that going?
He shows up, and he's always a creepo type guy, that type of shit. He shows up in Blades of Glory, and he's creeping on Jon Heder all the time. And it's just this guy's had the weirdest acting career ever. I'm not even sure how I would feel about having an acting career like this.
And in this movie, he honestly looks like he went off the deep end in real life. He looks sick, and that he's clearly put on weight. He doesn't look like a healthy person. Right. And it's kind of, it's a little bit sad, honestly. But this movie is just an excuse for Adam Sandler to take his buddies and his family to Hawaii to film a quick 89-minute movie.
I'll also say I just straight up, I don't think I say this often about any actors and Hollywood actresses. I just straight up don't like David Spade.
Really?
I never have. Yeah, I never have. Even on SNL in the 90s and Tommy Boy, all that stuff, I'm just why is this guy here? What a lazy guy, Mm-hmm.
See, I do like David Spade, but I definitely got tired of the whole he's either this nerdy guy who nothing goes right for him, or he's this womanizer who just gets all the ladies, and he's just this loner.
I think probably the reason why he's just made it in comedy so well is probably his voice. Now that I'm thinking about it, he has a really solid voice, funny voice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just usually never into anything he's doing for the most part.
I probably would say then you shouldn't watch this, which you probably
I'm
won't.
Not. I'm not.
But yeah, I mean, it's Adam Sandler's wife is in this too, and it's literally just to kind of get her screen time. I think it
looks like his son is in this too. Jared Sandler.
Oh wow, yeah, I know his daughter had like a little cameo. But
And
yeah,
of course, and Jackie Sandler.
Yeah, that's
Jackie Sandler.
That's his wife,
That's
and she's.
wife,
I
yeah.
think she's honestly like pretty bad in this movie, and it. If you know that that's his wife, then it just kind of seems like okay, she hasn't had any like big roles in this, and
she's in a lot of stuff. Now that I'm looking at it,
she probably has a lot of like small roles in
she's
his
in
movies.
a lot of stuff.
But honestly, I thought she was really bad in this, like weird bad. It could also be the fault of just who her character was, but and Lauren Lapkus is someone who actually I like her comedy. I think she's a really funny person, and she has funny moments in this movie. But there's also just completely way over the top moments too. She literally rapes and sexually assaults David Spade throughout the entire movie.
Holy fuck!
Like straight up, like David Spade wakes up, and she is having sex with him, and he didn't know what was going on, and he was like, stop, and it's like meant to be a comedic moment.
Get out of here!
But it's really just like off-putting.
Yeah. Of course, Rob Schneider's in this film.
Yeah, and Rob Schneider plays a really weird character who his hand was bit off by a shark, and he's crazy.
Yeah.
Classic Rob Schneider. He's someone who I really have never thought was funny at all.
See, I actually like Rob Schneider.
Really?
But I don't like David. Yeah, I always actually kind of get a real kick out of Rob Schneider.
I do think his character's funny in Grown Ups. I do think it's.
He's like, it's always the kids who pay.
But in this, he's a typical Happy Madison.
Yeah,
Rob Schneider
plays another race, that type of thing.
Yeah, he's like I think he's supposed to be like a Hawaiian.
Yeah, he's always Hawaiian. Yeah, he's Hawaiian.
Yeah, I think in the other Adam Sandler Hawaii movie, Just Go With It, he's like a Hawaiian guy in that too. But yeah, that's the wrong Missy. It's also a bad comedy that's on Netflix, but
it's just the titles, like, this is a lazy fucking movie that we don't give a fuck about. Like,
I think that the joke's on us, because Adam Sandler knows that these aren't good movies, but he's just like, we'll make a movie, I'll make millions of dollars from Netflix and just take a vacation. Yeah, that's the wrong Missy. Then okay, so after those two, we'll get into something that I really liked, and that's a movie on the Criterion Channel called Life is Sweet, directed by Mike Lee, who he's got a lot of movies on Criterion Channel, actually, that I've been hoping to see. It's the only one I've gotten around to, but Life is Sweet is a really great drama comedy with this family and just their sort of everyday life in England, but they're very quirky, and everyone has a very strong personality, and it really just details their life and the people that they associate with themselves with. And it's really funny and also a little charming, and I don't know I guess too much else to say about Life is Sweet, because there's it's definitely a hangout movie and not a movie that I can really describe to make someone want to see it, but it's
I know there's that whole Mike Lee collection on Criterion, so I'll have to add this one, because I don't really usually add movies that I don't like. I like from filmmakers I don't really know, but since you recommended this one, I'll have to watch it.
Yeah, it's I'd only just heard of Mike Lee, but I had never gotten into his filmography before. But this is the first one I just decided to watch. I just really like the characters all around. Really, really funny, and just not really grounded in reality in a way. Like these all the family, they are ridiculous. They are not realistic people at all. But and including like their friends. But so yeah, it's really endearing and just a nice movie. And it stars so many Harry Potter characters. So if you think that you don't want to watch anyone out there doesn't want to watch some random English movie from the 90s, it has Peter Pettigrew in it. It has I can't remember the one guy's name. It's he has some ridiculous name like Slughorn or something like that. And yeah, Slughorn, that's it. And there's a couple other Lupin, yeah, or something like that. I can't remember all the Harry Potter characters' names, but
there's so many.
If you're a Harry Potter fan, you watch this, you'll recognize them. But it is not like Harry Potter, so don't watch it I wouldn't watch it with your kids because there's some weird sexual scenes in this that are not in Harry Potter.
That's a good save,
that,
but it's not like Harry Potter.
Yeah, if you okay, I gotta get this guy's character name right. What is it? I'm never gonna find it. Hey, what's is it Lupin? Remus Lupin. Yeah, Remus Lupin. Anyone out there, if you really like Remus Lupin's character in Harry Potter, don't watch this because he does something in this that will make you really cringe and grossed out. So it's not safe for work or kids.
There's a scene in Harry Potter 3 where I think it's Harry Potter 3 where Gary Oldman is like, "Come on, Remus," and I'm like, oh yeah, his name is Remus.
Yeah,
yeah,
Remus Lupin. Yeah, he does something real weird in this movie that I can't unsee. I didn't really enjoy the scene, but it's also kind of funny and ridiculous. But yeah, Life is Sweet. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Okay, I just got a few more here. The next one I'll bring up is a rewatch, but I rewatched because it's timely because Joel Schumacher passed away this week.
Totally.
And he's done a lot of big name movies. The Lost Boys.
You watched The Batman.
Yeah. I watched Batman Forever. He's done 2 Batman movies, Batman and Robin, Batman Forever. I rewatched Batman Forever, which I actually like Batman Forever. I don't think it's a great movie, and Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face is really
it's pretty
weird,
fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it's just completely off the wall, way different than the Dark Knight Two-Face. But it's very campy and schlocky, and
Jim Carrey is like made for this. Like, I think out of every actor in this movie, like for the world that it is, Jim Carrey is made for it.
Absolutely.
More than any of them.
Yeah, this is a perfect role for him, and he's in 1995. Jim Carrey is like the top of the world. Like he's the biggest.
Oh yeah.
Biggest comedic actor there is in 1995, and the Riddler is perfect role for him.
Yeah, that's like what I took away when I watched this. I was like, Jim Carrey is just awesome in this.
Yeah,
I love it. Yeah,
and I do enjoy just the weirdness to it. It's
totally
got all these weird set pieces that it just looks completely bonkers and way different than anything from the Nolan Batman movies.
Yeah, it's just like, it's kind of like sometimes a refreshing thing to watch when after this in movies Batman was taken like so seriously. Like, you know, it's just, if you put a Hans Zimmer score to any superhero, they're gonna feel like God, and that's kind of what happened.
Yeah, definitely. And part of the reason I really love like Batman Begins and The Dark Knight is because it's more gritty and real and dark. But I also want to have a Batman that's like this, that's very cartoony and ridiculous. And I like Val Kilmer as Batman. I think a lot of people do too.
Yeah, I do too.
I think it would have been interesting to have him in more, in it's just at least one more Batman movie. But I can't remember if Batman and Robin with Clooney was before or after this one, but
it's after.
After, yeah, but
yeah, I think it's like when that movie came out, studios were very keen on changing the way they did superhero movies, because I think that movie was just Batman Robin was such an embarrassment that like it's why superhero movies shifted so much to like dark and real. And then like so X-Men comes out, and then Nolan movies come out.
Very
they hired
true.
a horror director to make Spider-Man, all that stuff.
Right. It's completely different than the early 2000s superhero movies. But then I feel like the Marvel movies then, once those all got big, that they had a little bit of both. They were a little more, grounded and real and had dark moments, but also very, very lighthearted and humorous. And which
I would say you're right. There is a balance. For sure.
Which I think is probably why those have worked so well. But I had to rewatch this after hearing Joel Schumacher died. And Batman Forever. Okay. Right. So I'll bring up 3 more. My final 3. And one of them, since we just talked about Westerns, this is one I watched before we recorded our Western episode to see if it might crack the list. It just didn't, but I still really enjoyed it, and it's Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which is another Sam Peckinpah Western. Who Peckinpah also directed The Wild Bunch, which was on the top 20 Western list.
Which is amazing, and everyone should watch it.
Yes, definitely. And Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid stars James Coburn, Chris Christopherson, and also Bob Dylan. And
oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. So Bob Dylan actually has a pretty big part in this movie, but he has maybe 2 lines. But he has a big part in this movie because all the music is Bob Dylan. And that's part of the reason I really liked this was Bob Dylan. I never realized.
You know what? I've listened to this soundtrack.
Really? Great
soundtrack. I was listening to Bob Dylan albums, and I was just going through them all, and one of them just happened to be a movie soundtrack, and I was like, I should watch this movie since I'm listening to this.
It really felt like a movie that older middle-aged men would really be into.
I should show it to my dad.
Yeah, like this feels like a dad movie. It's got this great Bob Dylan soundtrack that you feel like if you just put a camera on any man over their late 50s, early 60s, just contemplating life, and then you put this soundtrack in the background, it would fit. And it has a lot to do with that. So it's about Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, obviously, and Chris Christopherson plays Billy the Kid. James Coburn is Pat Garrett, and Pat Garrett is this aging lawman who's he has a friendly relationship with Billy the Kid, but his whole purpose throughout the movie is to take him down because he's this terrible outlaw. And there's just a lot of comparisons between Pat Garrett, who's this aging lawman who sees a lot of his younger self, and Billy the Kid, and hunting down Billy the Kid is almost like hunting down his old past that he's trying to get rid of in a way, which is why this Bob Dylan score fits so perfectly with it.
Exactly.
And then Bob Dylan is also in it, he's a side character, has a minor role, but there's definitely big scenes with him in it where he barely says anything, but his look, he fits. When I see it, I see Bob Dylan clearly, which is weird, but he also fits so well in the setting and everything. So
where'd you watch this?
Where?
Yeah.
In my living room.
No, like on streaming wise.
This was on TCM.
HBO Max.
Not on HBO Max, but on TCM on YouTube TV. So yeah, sorry, I don't know why that didn't click with me on what you meant by where did I watch this.
It's a quarantine, John.
So yeah, it was on TCM, and I recorded it on YouTube TV.
Yeah, because I kind of want to watch it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's streaming anywhere, but yeah, it was. I definitely think you would like it too, and it's definitely very much a Peck and Paw movie too.
Yeah, I'm looking at this photo of Peck and Paw right now, and Peck and Paw is just like a badass looking.
Yeah, totally. There's some, you gotta really like look into I started looking into the backstory of how this movie was made too, because the Wild Bunch is such a wild backstory too, no pun intended. But like Sam Peckinpah is the guy that's always butting heads with the studio as to how far he can go with something.
Yeah.
And apparently when Peck, Garrett, and Billy the Kid first came out, the studio made a bunch of edits from it, but eventually they released the Sam Peckinpah cut of it, which is now what is usually seen, but it cut out a lot of stuff that people didn't, it got bad reviews originally when it came out because people didn't like it as much, and then people really loved the Peckinpah version, which is now the version that you would see. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, I think you would really like that one, and just barely missed my list of westerns. Okay, all right, two more, and these are two that I've watched more recently within the past week, and one of them is another movie that I'm surprised you haven't seen because I feel like you would really like it, and I see that your brother really likes it, but it's River's Edge, which is a Tim Hunter movie. Not familiar with Tim Hunter, but from 1986 with Crispin Glover, Keanu Reeves, and Dennis Hopper.
I saw you watch this, and I was like, holy shit, I need to see that.
This is one that I feel like you would recommend to me in a way, which is funny. But this is on HBO Max.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, it's about a group of high school friends that discover that one of their friends murdered his girlfriend, and it's sort of how these idiot teenagers deal with that, and it's a very 80s movie, I would say. Not only does it have a young Crispin Glover and Keanu Reeves, but I feel like a lot of 80s movies dealing with high schoolers are with these high schoolers that are so like we talked about before, like Stranger Than Paradise, they're just bored, and they've nothing to do, and they're finding anything to occupy their minds, but they're also not like the best, they're not the greatest people either. They just kind of shitty people, and so how these teenagers react to their friend murdering his girlfriend is they're very indifferent, and it's really it's really like eye-opening to see that it's some of them react in a way that's like, oh my god, like I don't want to have anything to do with this is terrible, like get me out of here, and others are like, okay, we got to figure out how to make sure no one hears about this. And it also stars Dennis Hopper, who is very, very weird, and he's this shut-in druggy guy who his girlfriend is a sex doll who he treats like a real person. He thinks is a real person in his mind.
Wow.
It seems like a very Dennis Hopper like role. And
I know, it's like
it fits him. It's perfect.
It sounds like Dennis Hopper fan fiction.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And yeah, I just feel like it's a really profound movie, about it deals with a lot of moral things. It's a lot of like
philosophical morality stuff.
Yeah.
There's a movie I saw called Bully, by Larry Clark, which sounds very similar to this, where these like group of teenagers like make a plan to kill a guy, because they just genuinely believe it would be better off for like the world if they kill this guy, and it ends up just being very very just like philosophical and very just like gets very deep and just it reminds me of this the ideas that you're talking about in this movie, and it really was like something that floored me and was like, holy fuck. Like
that sounds a lot like River's Edge. Definitely. And it's really it's one that'll stick with you. And
wow, I really need to check that out.
And while it seems like crazy and outlandish that these kids would react this way, it's also loosely based on a true story of actually like 20 minutes away from where I live in the 80s. Early 80s, there was a teenager that killed this girl. Some
fucked up like things that have happened in the teen arena in California.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and this like, is one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was watching like James Franco. I don't know if it was James Franco directed it, or I think it was based off a bunch of short stories he wrote. It's called Palo Alto.
Oh yeah, you talked
about this movie, yeah. And it's just like it's a very like dark, fucked up portrayal of like teenage life in Palo Alto.
Yeah. The Bay Area. I mean, there's been quite a few serial killers too. So it's and in that real life scenario, this 16-year-old kid who murdered this girl showed. They said like around 10 people probably saw her body before anyone reported it to the police, and it was like days before anyone reported it. So it's definitely a very real story too.
Wow.
I would really recommend anyone watch that on HBO Max. And it's Crispin Glover and Keanu Reeves. Are great.
The cover photo of them in front of me, of them together, it looks like I just already can see myself laughing at their dynamic.
Oh yeah, Crispin Glover is very just oddball and wacky, and and Keanu is typical 80s Keanu.
Yep.
All right, the last one I'll bring up is one I just watched last night, and it's a Sam Fuller movie, which we talked about Sam Fuller recently with The Crimson Kimono. This is another noir of his called The Naked Kiss.
Nice. Yeah, the second I saw you watch this, I was like, I gotta watch that now. Because it looks similar to The Crimson Kimono and how it's like pulpy and all that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. It's after seeing this in The Crimson Kimono, I'm really, really interested in seeing more Sam Fuller. Which he's got some more on HBO Max too. And this one isn't. It's a noir like The Crimson Kimono, but also similar to it. It's not just a typical noir. You know, this isn't. I wouldn't say this is anything like a Humphrey Bogart noir that you would see.
It isn't like The Maltese Falcon.
Not at all. Yeah. The quick plot summary of it is a former prostitute discovers that her philanthropic fiance is involved. I don't want to. I don't even read the Letterboxd plot.
You think that gives too much away?
It's so short, but it's terrible. Basically, it involves this prostitute who is trying to just kind of take a different path to her life. You know, get on the right side of. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. She's trying to make her be a better person, and so she ends up becoming. A nurse, and she works at this hospital for disabled children, and she does these really great things, and she's sort of coming to terms with becoming a normal, quote unquote, normal person in society, and just being a nice person, which she's always. She's a very strong character, which is really awesome to see for a movie from 1964. Like, she commands this movie, and she. She's like, I've had it with this life of being a prostitute. I wanna right all these wrongs, and she does. And then it, things happen. She falls in love with this man, but it's not quite as it seems. and she realizes her like new provincial life that's supposed to be normal is just as fucked up as her life was before. I really love this movie, and right from the get-go, I don't even want to say too much about this because the very first scene, it's like chaotic. You're thrown in, and it's the shot is from the point of view of this woman, and she's like fighting with her pimp, and it switches off between the point of view of her and the pimp, and they are just fighting with each other, and as this fight goes on, these minor little things happen that you're like, whoa, what is happening right now? What is all this about? This is crazy. And then it just jumps right into the movie. And yeah, I know I absolutely loved it. I think it's one of my favorite noirs now. And Constance Towers, she's the main character in it. I thought she was awesome in it too.
Nice.
So I think you would really like it too, especially after seeing The Crimson Kimono.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Here, good way to end it.
Yeah. There, I'll end it there. And yeah, that's